this episode of Art Loft. Meet Your Makers, a series from the New Tropics featuring Robert Lee.
Nobody signed up. We started to attract talent, and we retained the talent, the local talent, especially by saying, hey, why don't you be a part of the movement? So we got the best poets from the neighborhood to buy into the movement.
Bobby Zokaites uses a vacuum cleaner as a paintbrush.
So if you look at it as a painting and you look at the robot as a tool, then you need to control your tools, right? That's what painters do.
Musicians combine talent to get a new sound.
That's really rare. You know, classical musicians are never encouraged or taught to improvise and to create music on the spot.
And cowboys celebrate their culture with music and poetry.
The hills get awful quiet when you have to camp alone, and it's mighty apt to start a feller thinking. You'll almost always waken when a horseshoe hits a stone or you hear the sound of hobble chains clinking.
It's all ahead in this episode of Art Loft.
Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
Where there is freedom, there is expression. The Florida Keys and Key West.
Hi, I'm Jumaane N'Namdi, and from the studios at South Florida PBS, this is Art Loft. Welcome back. I'm Jumaane N'Namdi. This week on Art Loft, we're exploring truly eclectic stories in the visual, musical, and poetic arts. In our first story, the New Tropic returns with their Meet Your Maker series. Now this time, they're highlighting Speak Fridays with Robert Lee. I've been to them. They're really good. Enjoy.
What began as a ragtag poetry reading in the boondocks has grown to a tour de force in the heart of Wynwood that now includes music, comedy, dance, and live art. I'm Miami-based artist Stuart Sheldon. Meet Your Makers is honored to welcome Rob Lee, the founder and MC of Speak Fridays.
Come on in. Thank you.
How you feeling?
Calm before the storm. Feeling good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah. Take a look, around. I mean,
Here you are, you're a professional. You decide you're gonna have this open mic thing. You find this random space that's sort of not close to anything. 7 years there?
we did it for 8 years there.
8 years you did that.
8 years.
Like the old spot out in Kendall was just, what was that by day? Was that like an office? Like an actual office, right?
Yeah. The production was a nightmare because we have to set up every show from scratch.
And it's a huge labor of love every time you want to set it up.
Yep.
But you do it. How did you persevere? Why did you start it?
I've lived in Miami for so many years, and there was a big void in the culture here in terms of connecting the dots. My first thought was the world needs more love and more artistry and community. So I stumbled onto poetry, and I liked it, and I liked what it did for people who were experiencing it and people who were presenting.
Yo, all he know is trap. See, he just wanna live, give his mama more.
So we started doing it, not knowing anything, because I've never been to an open mic. 11 people in a room the first year, and then after that, we introduced other elements that I really enjoy.
The mixture of different souls coming together under one roof to experience what we call the elements of the arts.
You name it. We had b-boy battles in conjunction with poetry, in conjunction with live music, everything going on. We started getting a lot of traction with that, and a lot of people started supporting, and we were packed out in South Miami. And there's a small space. But
I was there several times when it was full house.
Yeah.
In those early days, you were still trying to kind of manage the chaos, and the quality.
Yeah. Sometimes nobody signed up. We started to attract talent, and we retained the talent, and the local talent, especially by saying, hey, why don't you be a part of the movement? So we got the best poets from the neighborhood to buy into the movement.
Right.
So they would be there on a consistent basis with us.
And then the music got folded in, and then the comedy got folded in. Because you're really curating in real time. You still have a sign-up sheet.
Yep.
Now you have some acts that you know that are going to drop some really, some power.
For the pack rats and the people who keep elephants in their voice box, if you could allow yourself the luxury of vulnerability.
Talent kept coming, and the talent saw the vision and wanted to do something like this in the community and build it out. Now, we get not only aspiring artists, but we get, guys from out of town that are in town on a show.
We love all of you, and that's the truth of the matter. That's really
Since we've moved here, things have grown exponentially, like I mentioned before. And a part of that is, we were on Comedy Central a month ago in Kevin Hart's show. And we're doing some more work with Kevin Hart and his team.
Speak seems to me to be much bigger than you or me. It's kind of a mission. That's my interpretation. Tell me if I'm right, and if it is, what does that mission feel like to you?
We try to keep everybody included. The show is really not about the artistry so much, or me as a host so much, or any. The show is about everybody that's here. The platform gives everybody an opportunity to build bridges, so people can come and feel safe and heard. All of us, not just me. I couldn't do this by myself. We have a great team behind all of this. It takes a village, to make this go, and so we try to inspire people to come, listen, and really express themselves. That's really our mission, is to bring people together. We love people, we love art, we love the community. It's like, be the change you want to see. We're living it, I believe in that.
I love the motto, can I speak?
But we can't do this without each other. We can't do this without you. We can't do this without each other. We can't do this without the crew. Mr. Miggs over here.
Almost 10 years ago, sculptor Bobby Zokaites embarked on a project that challenges our idea about using technology in creative expression. Watch as this man struggles with the control of his amazing creation. Now, I know Ed Clark paints with a push broom, but Bobby is taking this to another level. Check out Arizona PBS in Phoenix as they bring us this amazing story.
I couldn't handle the implications when I was 20 because I associated it with my identity, and I had given that capability of creating that identity to a robot. My name is Bobby Zokaites. I'm a sculptor. I've been living in Arizona for the last 6 years. What we're doing here is we are using a Roomba vacuum cleaner to create a painting. And so this is a project I came up with in 2005 and really solidified in 2006. So now it's a decade later, and we're re-examining sort of the implications of what it means to have a commercially available product to create a painting. So this is an original generation Roomba vacuum cleaner without its vacuum system. Totally took all that out. And what I've done is created this paintbrush, where we've got a foam brush and a reservoir, so it really acts like those giant magic markers. So the first iteration, I'd gotten a small grant to buy a couple of Roombas, buy the canvas, and I set it up, hit go, and there was this moment where I was I knew I had made gold, right? I knew it. I had this euphoric thing going on that is pretty unexplainable. This was 10 years ago, so I mean, there are a lot of things happened that year. But as far as my art production, I realized that all of a sudden this was not empowering me anymore. Now, because I look at art from the perspective of a sculptor or a public artist, meaning like I'm making a product, all of a sudden it's a manufacturing capability, like a manufacturing process, as opposed to a process of identity. And so now I can look at it as a complete new media work with a performance and a finished product, and it's all a nice, neat little art package. Whereas 10 years ago, like it was, I mean, I don't let my twin brother speak for me. I'm not gonna let a robot speak for me. So if you look at it as a painting and you look at the robot as a tool, then you need to control your tools, right? That's what painters do. They have a significant understanding of their brush. Normally, it's intuitive how they do it by hand. But here, you've got to be able to control the robot, which is the brush. And so, like, while I'm doing it, I'll whack it, or like you can see a fence set up, and really getting that control back from the robot, that's the challenge. And so the decisions like color and size of the paintbrush and that sort of stuff are like very important decisions for me as an artist to make, because it allows me to control the painting. If we're going to call the finished product a painting, then we do have a successful example of a Turing test. The Turing test is to put a human in one room and a computer in another room and ask them questions until you figure out which one's the computer and which one's human. Now, if you ask the Roomba to paint a landscape, you're not going to get a landscape. But this robot will create an original work of art every time we set it on the canvas and hit go. And again, if you don't show somebody the robot, right, and you show them just the painting, they're going to think somebody painted that. I think they are better paintings than I can make by myself. And I think it's a better painting than a lot of people can make by themselves. And so if art is about human expression, then they're not. Then this is a joke. But if it's art about society, like everybody's got smartphones now, right, and the expression of society, like, then why can't a robot make a work of art?
Okay, you got classical, jazz. Mix that together, what do you get? The 442s. This is a musical group based out of St. Louis that is bad and bougie. Join us as the 9 network of public media drops in during their awesome rehearsal. Check it out.
The hardest thing about categorizing this music, everybody likes categories. You know, you go to iTunes and you get your classical favorites and your top 40 favorites and your R&B favorites. The 442s are so hard to categorize because we delve into so many different areas of inspiration. And so we have not been able to find an easy moniker to kind of codify what we are. And that's tricky, and it's also freeing. It's hard when you're trying to explain to people what you do and who you are, but you just tell them, come in and hear us. Just listen to it, and that'll explain it.
The name the 442s comes from the standard tuning of A is 442 hertz. And that's what the oboist in the symphony plays to tune the orchestra before each concert. And that's kind of where we got that name.
That felt good.
Great, yeah.
That felt really good.
Because it's going to break down soon again anyway, so it can feel like we're walking off the cliff a little bit. Well, I kind of am the utility man in the group. I do a little bit of everything. I do guitar and accordion and some percussion, some glockenspiel. I do all those things. I'm kind of running around on each tune, and I also compose most of the music.
Adam writes so well for all of us. And each time we come to the rehearsal, he's brought a new element of things that he's wanted to try and see, and we'll discuss it and we'll talk about it. And he'll have us come over to his place individually sometimes in between rehearsals and say, well, what sits well and what works? Does this work? Is this good? What can you do here? Each opportunity that we have to kind of stretch ourselves as musicians kind of goes into the sauce, you know, it adds a complexity to us as musicians, whatever genre we're playing.
For Sean and I being a part of the symphony, you know, you're there and you're playing the notes and you're following the direction of the conductor and you're creating music in a way, but it's not your impetus. You're not the one who's calling the artistic shots. And when you have a group like this, we are that artistic impetus. We are the ones who are making the decisions and the voices, and we can change things. And I think for me, that's the most fun element of the 442s. Just getting a chance to play completely outside my comfort zone and outside the box. And one thing that's nice about the 442s is that not only do we have, you know, through composed pieces that we are all playing together, what is written on the page, but we also have times where we're improvising as well. And so for Sean and I think from the symphony, that's really rare. You know, classical musicians are never encouraged or taught to improvise and to create music on the spot. And for us, I think it's a challenge, it's a thrill, it is nerve-wracking, it's scary, but it's so fun ultimately.
It's uncharted waters for me. But Bjorn and Sean have a very strong pop sensibility, and they understand the feel of jazz, so it was really quite easy. That made my job so much easier because they have an inherent feel for groove, and they understand that other styles. I mean, Sean knows more about pop jazz music and you name it than most people that I've ever met. And Bjorn is very open to pop music, and he's quite funky, as you hear on some of the songs.
Because it's kind of everybody's second pursuit, we get to be very picky about what we do and where we play and how we're presented. And I think that's a huge advantage for us. And I think everybody who comes to our concerts can feel that we're very happy with the situation, you know, that we're playing in right there. And we don't have to do anything we don't want to
do. We start with what Adam writes, and it's a great product, and we want to perform it in the most convincing way and really take it to where it needs to be, which is something that we kind of get together ahead of time, and then we'll go in and just kind of let it fly in our concerts. And a lot of times things will happen in a show that never could have really happened in a rehearsal just because of the energy that we get from the audience.
I view this as another form of chamber music, and I'm very, very busy outside of Powell Hall, filling myself up with other things and other experiences. And I think we could all say that this group is another facet of our life where we can pour ourselves into something completely different.
And I think the more we do things and the more we push this and the further we can see this goes, the more we realize that it's all part of the same big sonic realm of what it is we all do.
Next week on Art Loft.
I feel like it's definitely like a huge part of my life. It's just become like this comfortable, energetic, like adrenaline roller coaster that I love riding.
Every year, cowboys descend upon the town of Elko, Nevada for what else? A National Cowboy Poetry Gathering. So round up the kids, round up the family, and check out as Reno's KMPB gives us the scoop on this unique tradition that blends spoken word with music and real interesting stories. Take a look. Yeehaw!
traditions that are being carried on here at the Elko Cowboy Poetry Gathering are something that can't be duplicated anywhere else.
I think people come here and they sort of revel in the idea that that there still is a life on the land, and that that life bears fruit that is poetic and musical, and it's just very real.
I've made my living horseback for over 30 years, and I still do. It's a privilege to be able to share those things that I get to experience in real time that someone else may only know by the spoken word at a performance. So I feel like the material deserves to be handled with care, and I really want to do that skillfully.
The heritage in this community is ranching, and a lot of the great singers and cowboy poets who are at this event are from this area. They're from buckaroo culture.
If you think about it, if it weren't for Elko, there's a lot of cowboys out there that don't come to Elko or don't go to gatherings that probably write music, poetry that we don't know about. And this gives the world a chance to hear unsung cowboys.
The hills get awful quiet when you have to camp alone, and it's mighty apt to start a feller thinking. You'll almost always waken when a horseshoe hits a stone, or you hear the sound of hobble chains a-clinking.
When we started this event, we really made most of our decisions based on what we thought would attract cowboys and ranch people. It's really because of the cowboy poets who I've met who I thought were courageous and decided to make a stand and say their own poems and write their own songs.
It helps a fella see himself through other people's eyes, and when he does, his pride takes quite a fall. 'Cause when you're all alone and thinking, friend, you come to realize that you're a mighty common feller after all. Bruce Kiskadden. There's been a growth over the years that has, I think, improved the quality of work. It hasn't lessened the value of the classics, but it has certainly increased the quality of the contemporary stuff.
Cut a calf and rope a cow, set a trap, shoot coyotes, hold the reins, twist a wire, sew a patch for a baby boy. They may look small.
I know a lot of young ranch kids who are great cowboys and good horsemen, and they're immersed in the culture, but not in the arts that emerged from the work. So it's great to find young people who not only can go out and get a job done, but they have embraced the art form that really is unique and specific to the cowboy culture.
We're all in this to have an art form live and survive and thrive.
That's another part of the traditions at Elko that is so important, is that we get to pass it on to the younger kids. They are the next generation after me, and that's kind of a staggering thought for me.
It expanded over the years to be more than just performance-oriented. It isn't just storytelling, poetry, and song. Other things have come in that have made it richer. It's dispelled a lot of mythology with people who don't rub shoulders with the cowboy culture or the ranching culture or the farming culture. We have a tendency to isolate and separate, and so a lot of folks who don't know sickum about a cow can come here and hear the perspective of someone who that has been a centerpiece of their life.
And I think cowboys, we are a dying breed, and we need to be able to have the authority to speak in a way that people will listen.
It's an honorable profession that has diminished in numbers, and it's great to see a stronghold of that culture here being celebrated, both by rural dwellers and urban dwellers.
I think people value this. You know, they come and they're nurtured by it. Being around these other artists give me heart to go on, to keep creating, to keep performing, to keep writing new poetry. It's stay engaged.
So be warned by my lot, which I know you will not, and learn about women from me.
Thanks for joining us on Art Loft. You can always connect with us on social media at Art Loft SFL and watch us anytime on the PBS app by selecting WPBT2 as your local station. For Art Loft, I'm Jumaane N'Namdi, aka Cool J. Now remember, art imitates life, so do what? I said do what? Live a beautiful life. Peace.
Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
Where there is freedom, there is expression. The Florida Keys and Key West.